Nikon D600 autofocus. So the first spot you should look is right here on the side of, on the front of your camera on the left hand side. Let me just get that into focus. Right down here, there's an autofocus manual button. This is where you want to go first to check whether or not you've got it set. And the reason you want to go here first is because this is also a button. So manual or autofocus. The next place you want to look is on your lens. Right here, there's a manual auto, and then there's a manual mode on your lens, depending on what type of lens you're using. After you've checked where your switch is, and if you see, if I'm moving the switch, if you look right here, you can see that changes from auto to not displaying anything. Your manual focus, you can still move this point around, but it's not going to do you any good. So you check the position of this switch here, and you watch your autofocus will change here. One thing to note is that if your lens is set on manual, no matter what you do to the switch on your body, it won't change this display here. So make sure you switch it over to auto on your lens, then you can change it here on your body. So now that you've got your autofocus on, there are a number of different settings for your autofocus, and the quick way to get to those is to press this button here. And if you're in your info screen, if you press that button and you rotate this rear dial here, you can see it change from AF-A to AF-C, AF-S. It'll change to those three modes with the rear dial. Now on the D600, if you remember, there's a dial up here on the front. I'm not going to bother refocusing, but you can see it there. If you press the autofocus button on the front, and then you rotate the front dial, you'll notice it changes from spot to auto. So that's something to note as well. So on AFS you have spot and auto. If you switch to AFC, you have auto, spot. That's like a center weighted average, and then a grid or a 3D, and then this, and then this. That's 3D, and so there are a bunch of different modes here which you can cycle through. And if you have AFS, you have two. AFA, you have all of the modes as well. So those are the quick ways to get to autofocus. You should also notice that the top of the Nikon D600 has an LCD display which displays the autofocus mode as well. And if you look here, you can see AFC, AFS, and AFA, and this top dial will give you how many points you're using to focus. So there's auto, spot, 9 points, 21, 39, 3D. So a couple different places to check on the Nikon D600. Also, for autofocus, if you go into your menu by hitting the menu button, and then you go down to your custom setting menu, and the top one is autofocus, you have a number of options in here as well. So if you're looking for that really strange autofocus mode, check in here because there are a lot of options. So one last thing for autofocus, remember you have your AE-AFL lock button right here, which is awesome. So you find your subject that you want that's not in the center of the frame, you go down, you focus on it, press the lock, bring your camera back up, bam, take the picture, and you've got it locked on focus. One last thing about autofocus, on the D600, when you're moving your focus points around, hang on, stand by. I have to get it in this mode. When you're moving your focus point around, when you get it to the spot you want, don't forget, you can lock it in place with this little slider here, this little sliding button. So that's locked in. Now any amount of touching I do to the D-pad is not going to change its location. And if you get it to where, oh, I can't move my focus point, what's going on? Remember, that lock, that's what that's for.
I'm Adam with Camera Guides, and this is brought to you by Stockoto. Thanks for watching.